Friday afternoon means Facebook Live Friday afternoon with Brian Milam and Dave Baker. Dave Baker and Brian Milam, whichever order you would like to put. It is another work week coming to an end, so to speak, but when you're in the world of sports, it never
Everybody's working for the weekend.
Yeah, just like George Jones said, it's finally Friday. So
it means he's had a few too many and he's out on the tractor back in the day, right?
George, not anyone else that we
Right.
But it is Kentucky and Akron tomorrow for the all-blue coverage, and EKU with their home opener with Western Carolina. A lot of stuff to go through. High school football. We are in week 5 already.
Right.
So doing the math, and I was told there would be no math. We are that close to the halfway point of the season. That's, again, I'll say it like I did last week. It's the one thing I cannot handle about football. We get so geeked up and jacked up for that thing, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's playoff time. So. But if you have any questions, I'm trying to monitor our Facebook feedback with the comments and whatnot. But I think there's been something done to the
comments?
to the settings, because I can't see certain things anymore. So
you're kidding?
That must be the cataract again. But you can see what we get. But give us your comments about anything. We're going to talk about the Cats, and we will get to also some of the big news of the week.
Sure.
The biggest news of the week, which was the passing of Roy Kidd. We touched on that a little last week. But let's talk UK for a moment.
Sure.
Here we are, Game 3, and everybody, I think the majority of the Big Blue fan base is saying, where are we? And I think that's the $10,000 question no one seems to know right now. Offensively speaking, defensively have not been totally put to the test yet.
Right.
But offense is where everybody wants to ask some questions.
I think that defense will get a test this week. If you remember Joe Moorhead, who was up at Penn State and then the head coach at Mississippi State before they brought Mike Leach in. He's a guy that's known for his offense, and he knows this Kentucky program and certainly how Mark Stoops likes to play defense. So I think they'll give a good accounting of themselves on offense. The whole thing with the offense, there are a couple of different things. First of all, the biggest headline this week was the fact that Liam Cohen was out for a couple of days after what was called a, quote, medical episode, end quote. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it was too severe, but he was in the hospital for a couple of days. That had to affect somewhat preparation. You had Devin Leary coming back from the surgery, and Cohen talking about the fact that maybe his mechanics were a little off. He's got a big arm. He was trying to fit it in some places and throw it too hard. And then the other thing is, and I find this really interesting, is the fact that I don't want to say underestimated, but maybe didn't fully estimate the impact of this NCAA rule change, where the clock is not stopping on first downs anymore. And so Kentucky has found in these first 2 games they've gotten less and less possessions, and so they're going to try to do some stuff internally to make sure they try to get more possessions on offense.
You are a wily veteran.
Wiley. Coyote.
Him too. He never won, by the way.
No, he did. He was over.
Yeah, you won a little bit more than that.
He was over.
But you are a wily veteran of the old JP days and Lincoln Financial days, when the games were a lot longer. The games stopped. And the reasoning, some of the reasoning, which has been given as to why the continuous clock goes until the final 2 minutes, obviously incomplete pass it stops, but is to eliminate, it cuts down on the number of plays that could prevent injury and all that. And I'm thinking, it's to fit it into a 3-hour television window. Your thoughts, sir?
That's why the NFL plays at what, 1:05 and 4:30, and they've done that. But you know what? I just think fans today, especially younger fans that you're trying to attract, that's just a long time for them, right? 4-hour round of golf, they're just not into it, And so I think there are, to be honest about it, there are fewer and fewer television outlets, even with the advent of cable. And it's a problem in all sports. I mean, how many times last year do we remember Kentucky basketball fans lamenting the fact that the Wildcats played the second game, and so the first game wasn't over, and you'd see that crawl on the bottom of the screen that said, the Kentucky game is currently on ESPN News, and will be up as soon as this is over. So I think that's certainly part of it. I think injury is a part because they've done things like trying to eliminate kickoff returns and things like that. I think it is part of it. But this is, as we say in golf, strictly pace of play, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the games have been faster, especially when the clock does not stop. Let's say you face a team which will run the football 70% of the time, 60% of the time. You're going to be back home for dinner pretty quick after you just tailgated. But
it'll be a late dinner tomorrow.
But stopping the clock to move the chains takes what? 10 seconds, depending on the how far that play was.
The people who are doing that, the people who are administering that, they've got to execute just like the players on the field, right? And so one of the things that I think Mark Stoops and company talked about is the fact that they've got these wristbands like everybody does now, and maybe Devin Leary was having trouble getting that play and finding it on the wristband, and so try to simplify some of that stuff, and really, if they want to up the tempo on the field, they're going to have to up the tempo in terms of making a decision and getting it communicated.
Well, one thing that I remember when the up-tempo style of football really started to take place in the mid-'90s a little bit, early to mid-'90s, you would see teams like, let's say, Houston. Let's go back to the late '80s when Andre Ware and early '90s, when they're chucking the ball, they were sometimes calling 2 plays in the huddle. Hey, we're going to do play 1, which is 24 Baker Bruce, blah, blah, blah. And then play 2, guys, play 2 is purple 4. Purple 4. Remember, purple 4. And so they get, and I like the way, the pace at which football goes. Stop the clock, move the chains, take your time. If you're going to save, literally, I mean, let's think about it. Let's say there are 30.
What's the average length of games been this year? I think they were like
they're shorter, but not drastically.
They were like 3:15 last year or something like that.
But they're not drastically.
Well, I didn't know. I haven't looked.
I think if you my earpiece keeps going out. If you have 30 first downs in a game, and it takes on average 10 seconds to move the chains and then start it up, how much time are we really losing? I don't think so. I think it's a joke. But
average length of college football games in 2023.
How in the heck do you do that? That technology.
How'd you do that?
That's the darndest thing I've ever seen. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, personally. However, what has been a big deal is the fact that UK's ground game has been very good. But the passing game has been spotty. It's been, pretty darn good for about 4 or 5, 6 plays, and then disappears for 2 drives maybe. So that's got to be figured out. It's going to be UK and Akron.
So the games were 3 hours and 22 minutes last year.
Okay.
And so that's what they're trying to get
322.
Down. 322. And while we're speaking of Akron, can I tell you one funny? We all need a lift at the end of the week, right?
Yeah.
So my buddy Gene McLean, who's now kind of semi-retired and runs the Louisville Thoroughbred Society, he and Dick Gabriel probably covered more EKU athletics than anybody in the early 80s.
Sure, no question.
Dick was our guy, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But then Gene was doing it for the Herald Leader, and so they were playing a basketball game up in Akron. And Max Good was the EKU coach.
This already is getting good.
Yeah, it is. So the mascot of Akron is the Zips.
That's right.
Zippy is a kangaroo. So if you see Zippy running around tomorrow, you'll say, why is that kangaroo the mascot? I couldn't tell you. But it's got something to, I don't know. So anyway, so Zippy is doing the whole mascot thing and goes over to where Gene is working and is dancing in front of me. He's like, hey, come on, give me a break. I'm working here. And then Zippy comes over and throws his papers on the court. And Gene, for those of you that don't know Brian, he's one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with. But he will drop a bat and charge the mound in about a half a second.
Can be.
Gene would be there quicker than I mean, he has no filter.
He wouldn't wait for the pitch.
As Manning Baker would say, he has no chill. And so he gets up and says, I'm going to whoop your tail, except you can imagine the language.
I'm going to whip your zip.
And Max Good says, and Max uses the King's English freely. I can't use it here. He's like, here I am trying to coach the blankety blank game, and I look over, and McLean is in a fight with Zippy. And so Zippy and Max have each other, or Zippy and Gene have each other by the throat. and Gene finds out that it's a girl that's in the mascot costume. So he's not going to be able to come to the game tomorrow. But I had a meet and greet set up with Zippy so that we could recreate this great moment in athletics history.
I would have paid great money to have seen.
You didn't have to pay great money. I mean, you could get Zippy for like a half an hour for $50. Zippy's not working at a very high rate right now.
Well, the Akron folks checked in a couple of hours ago at Kroger Field, so it'll be Kentucky and Akron tomorrow. Wasn't Akron? They were in the OVC at one time, weren't they?
Yeah,
a long time ago.
When this incident occurred,
that's
and they were playing up at Akron.
Wasn't
Bob Huggins was the coach at Akron.
Yeah,
that's right.
So. Okay, that's right. So they're going to play tomorrow evening. Chris Bailey says it could rain.
I saw the numbers move up a little bit today in terms of chance of rain. Is that right?
It's a scattered chance.
Oh, zoom, dramatic zoom.
I thought I saw 50% on the 7-day forecast.
That's for the whole area.
Whole area?
Whole area.
Well, what about Kroger Field?
Kroger Field's
that area.
lower than 50. All right.
There's a big H. That can't be a good thing.
Do we want to divulge the location of where the McGoffin County Tailgate Extravaganza will be taking place for people to come by and say hello?
No, you probably do not want to give that one out.
Okay. What about the Morgan County people?
That one's going to be
Okay.
So if you're in the Big Sandy, don't worry about it.
Morgan County, McGoffin County. You're looking for tailgating at Kroger Field. That's where you need to go. Go see Red and tell him I sent you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that is what's going on tomorrow at Kroger Field. Football tailgating, possible rain, maybe not. We will find out tomorrow. So just make sure you're prepared. Earlier this week, about 8:30 in the morning on Tuesday, my phone starts to ding.
Yep.
And I knew immediately what the ding was. And Roy Kidd had passed at 1:40 in the morning, early Tuesday. And when that text came, sometimes you just know.
Right.
And you just knew, and I thought, golly, I picked up the phone. Yep, there it is. And we were at that point to be expecting an announcement from the family and from EKU, and it did not take long after that.
And thank God it did.
Yeah, so Tuesday was a pretty tough day in terms of the finality of something.
Oh, sure.
You know, you expect it. We've all gone through passings of family members or people we care about, and you know it's imminent, but when it finally hits, there is that, that big pop that you get. And so Tuesday we were at Richmond, and we spoke with Matt Rohn, the athletic director. We spoke with Walt Wells, the football head coach, and it was just an emotional day for a lot of those people. And we also last week spoke with Carl Park, former SID at EKU from 1970 to 2013.
Great dude.
Or 2003, mind you, I believe it was, and Greg Stottlemyre, who's been the voice of the Colonels since the late 70s. Maybe early 80s, but at least the late 70s, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And certainly Coach Wells. And I put together just a little while ago just what hit the air on Tuesday, some of the sound bites. So if you don't mind, just roll the sound bites about these three gentlemen talking about Coach Kidd.
Competitor. I mean, number one, he was the most competitive guy I've ever been around in my life. I mean, I've worked for, I was well documented, Mark Stoops, Butch Jones, Willie Taggart, you name it. Coach Kidd, those 3 hours on game day, he was the most competitive guy I've ever been around.
Well, he came from Corbin, so he knew small town, but he also knew how to be a big-time coach. And the thing that made him most successful is how he treated people with respect, but he was tough too. People want tough love if it's genuine tough love, and that's what he gave his players when they needed it. And it's not just players. You talk to managers, you talk to me, anybody around the program. There was just something special about the guy. There really was, and the records just underscores how special he was, but it goes well beyond the record.
His legacy would be winning football and doing it the right way. And he literally has put our name out nationwide. I mean, we've heard of people in different states say, oh yeah, that's where Roy Kidd coached. And so he is such an important part of our university history.
Yeah, it'll be tough. I mean, every time I walk into the stadium, I touch his chest, on his statue, say hi to him, But I always know he's there. He won't be there anymore, but he'll always be here in spirit. He'll always be the cornerstone of this program, of this university.
He's got the best seat in the house. He does. And I hope he meets my dad and my brother. And I know that's personal, but that's what I think. As long as I'm the head football coach, we'll never forget Coach Kidd. His importance to me personally, but to this university and this football program, bleeds throughout the 39 years of head coaching, the assistant years he had, the Madison High teams he had, and then obviously the great player he was here at EKU.
Coach Kidd, 91 years old, passing away early Tuesday morning of this week. And it's EKU plays at home, and they are going to roll out the maroon carpet this weekend, honoring Coach Kidd. Sure. The band, helmet stickers, they painted the letters RK at the 50-yard line. There have been flowers, well-wishers, friends, family, players, coaches drop off little mementos at the statue. Sure. And gosh, it's going to be a big Saturday. There are Saturdays to win. And this, for EKU, is a Saturday to win.
It'll be a big Saturday. Of course, the visitation is Sunday. The service is Monday morning. And, to his wife, Sue, and to Mark and Keith and Kathy, his kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, just our thoughts and prayers and hugs. And, when they announced last week that he had gone into hospice, that allowed people whose lives he had touched to celebrate him. And it was you're so sad to see him go, but it's very different than somebody you didn't expect to go.
Right.
And it's like a bolt that comes out of the blue. This allowed people to once again appropriately shine the spotlight on Roy Kidd. And he was never a guy that ever looked for the spotlight. I mean, he kind of ran away from it. And what Walt said about how competitive he was, oh my gosh, didn't make any difference what it was. Yeah. I mean, left-handed guy out on the golf course. and when he's out there playing with his coaches, or we played a number of tournaments together, I mean, he did not like to lose in anything.
He was trying to beat the guys on the golf course as if they were wearing WKU on their chest.
There is no question. But, I mean, in 41 years, not a finer person that I have met. He always asked about people, and it wasn't the people that, the primary, it was, a camera guy, he had the house so-and-so, and it's just a real man's man, and we grieve with the family. We celebrate his legacy that will live forever, and just thank you for sharing him with so many of us.
Yeah, Corbin native, son of a freight train engineer.
Come on, let's go.
And was a little All-American at EKU as a quarterback, and played center field, batted better than 300 for Turkey Hughes a long time ago. Those names.
Turkey Hughes still on the field down there.
If you love history, if you love learning about people, for me, when you say he was recruited to UK by Bear Bryant did not want him playing baseball.
Right.
He wanted him just for football. Like, wow, Bear Bryant recruited you, and you played for a guy whose name is legendary in the EKU ranks with Turkey Hughes. Holy cow. And then you go and do what you do, winning more games than any other football coach in state history at the collegiate level, to be a college football Hall of Famer. I think at the time he retired, only Eddie Robinson had more wins.
I think he was third on the list when he was active. I forget who the other one was.
Yeah, you had Bobby Bowden and
that's right.
Joe Paterno.
Right.
So those are the three ahead of him or with him in class when he retired in 02. So just a marvelous.
And speaking of class, when I started in the early 80s and they were so dominant, he was still teaching class down at EKU.
I think
he was teaching class.
In that clip,
unheard of today.
In that clip that you saw where he bangs on the desk, he mentions to his players, he said, 20 years from now, you're going to remember this game with Western. You're going to remember it. But if you look at the chalkboard in the back, it's not plays.
No.
It's not X's and O's. it was whatever he was teaching, which is pretty cool.
I forget what he taught, but he was there every day now. He was
a true teacher of the game, a teacher in the classroom, a teacher and a coach.
And a man's man.
Yeah, no question. Tonight is high school week number 5. The Corbin Red Hounds, where Coach Kidd was born and raised, they play the Douglas Broncos. And the next time you are in Corbin, it's at Dennis Stadium over there, but they have renovated, and I mean multi-million-dollar renovation at Corbin. Brand new turf, that red pops in the end zones. They have redone both end zones.
It's not like the red Smurf turf, is it, though? It's just red in the end zone.
No, it's just for the end zones and the logo in the middle of the field. Man, it is. As I mentioned to someone, it reminds me of Putnam Stadium in Ashland when they did their renovation.
Sure.
Only I think they have taken it to a different level. So if you're around Corbin, take a few minutes just to drive past the KFC, the original KFC building and the museum. And when you get up
get
top,
you a bucket and 2
go
sides.
down. So yeah, I ate there a couple of weeks ago for the first time. It was great.
I bet it was.
I spent about an hour and a half in there.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
It was
as long as you got Wi-Fi,
That's
right?
I didn't even need it, so just take it around, take it.
If you got gravy, you don't need Wi-Fi. That's kind of the way I look at life.
But always add gravy to the taters.
Yes.
For Dave Baker, I'm Brian Milam. Thanks for watching.
Guess what? We got Football Friday coming up next.
Thanks for watching Facebook Live Friday, but now we've got Football Friday, and for that, Dave Baker, I'll let you sign us out of here for this.
Take us on out of here, Percy. Welcome back to another Football Friday as we get you set not only for the Cats tomorrow afternoon, but especially the Lexington Sporting Club on Sunday night. It's a special night, 7 o'clock, as they host the Charlotte Independents. They're still in the hunt for one of those final playoff spots. Kimball Jackson, who lives right here in Lexington as part of a club, is here with us. And Kimball, thanks for coming in. You played you went to school at Lafayette, and then you played for the Cincinnati FC Academy. What was that level of competition like, first of all, for you?
I mean, the level at FC Cincinnati was top tier. It was one of the highest leagues that you can play in as a youth player, and the coaches at FC Cincinnati did a great job, preparing players to either become pro or become elite college players.
Sure. Like there were a couple of guys here from Lexington that you went with, including Max Miller, who's I think in his sophomore season over at UK, who went to school at Bryan Station. The other part of that was you were still going to school. So, I mean, how in the world, you'd get out of school, and go to Cincinnati, and then how do you get homework and everything done?
There was a couple of guys that we'd carpool up to Cincinnati with, and we'd take turns driving up there. The other guys would be in the back doing their homework, and or if we didn't have training that day, we'd get back from school and just get homework done as fast as possible. Sure. Yeah.
Dude, that takes a lot of dedication. Did you ever think at any point in time it was too much, or you knew that's what you wanted to do?
No. At any point did I ever feel like it was too much. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what it needed to take, or what I needed to do to become an elite professional soccer player.
Sure, and of course that's the goal, to be a professional soccer player, but what was behind the decision to come and do the LSC thing as opposed to maybe going and playing collegiately like Max and some others have done?
I mean, it was in my hometown. It was a great opportunity. Sam Stockley, the coach, recruited me, and everything sounded amazing, and it has been so far.
Sure. When did he first see you play, and when did you know he was interested in you?
Me and Sam have been, we had been talking for a little bit before I went to Xavier, and during the off season he asked me to come to do a couple of trainings with the academy, and he liked me from there, and just kind of kicked from there.
Where do you feel like you've made the biggest jump in your game from the time you left Cincinnati FC to this point you're at in your first season here at LSC?
I think personally my biggest jump has been playing with this team. I mean, a lot of the guys are high-level players, and I learn from them every day.
You're playing with men too.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget we had Don on a couple of weeks ago, and Don actually played with Sam.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago. So what have those older guys? How's that transition been and everything? Are you the young guy that they take under their wing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm exactly that. They take care of me. They try and teach me. They try and they teach me things that they want me to do so I can become a better player.
That's awesome. I think we were talking earlier before we came on. I think you guys are 1-1 against Charlotte. You are still in the hunt for that last playoff spot, but the margin for error is really, really thin.
Yep, exactly.
So how do you size up this match against Charlotte?
I mean, just control what we can control and follow the coach's game plan, and we know just trust in the coaches, and we'll come out with the result.
I've asked everybody who's come on here in the last half of the season, when Sam made that tactical change and you went to the different attack. I know some guys, when that happens, they should we be doing this? It's really paid off for you guys right from the jump.
Yeah, so we tactically made a change, and it turned out to be really well. The guys, it was a really quick change, so the guys took it on board, and it paid off in the end.
Okay, so I know you're excited being back in front of the home fans on Sunday night, and that crowd really makes a difference for you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look now. And again, it'll be Sunday night. The tailgate begins at 5. Gates open at 5:30 at Georgetown College's Toyota Stadium. First touch is at 7. You can get your tickets at lexsporting.com. Let's get a big crowd out there. lexsporting.com/tickets. And let's get these lads, as Sam would say, across the finish line. Thanks so much for being here with us, Kimball. Good luck on Sunday night.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you next time on Football Friday.